Hi, and welcome to Anne's Family Recipe. Today we're making baby back ribs. This recipe is inspired by a woman that I follow on Instagram. Her name is Nikki and she goes by Southern at Heart. And a few months ago, maybe it was for Memorial Day, I'm thinking, she showed her husband making these baby back ribs. So he put them in some baking pans with some citrus juices and a dry rub, and then roasted them low and slow for several hours in the oven. And that's exactly what we're gonna do today. I've tried these a few times before and they came out so tender, they were falling off the bone, filled with flavor, and we're also gonna dip them in some barbecue sauce at the end, so we'll add an extra layer of flavor when it's all said and done. So for today's meal, I bought 2 full racks of baby back ribs just from Aldi. These are so delicious. And we're having a friend over and her family for dinner tonight, so we're going whole hog, which is kind of funny, but we're making a lot of ribs, which is totally fine because if there's any left over, I'm not even sure if there will be, but my husband and I will totally eat them. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is use my kitchen scissors to trim these out of their packaging, and then I'm actually gonna use the scissors to just cut these straight across directly in half. So 1 full rack cut into 2 little slabs here will fit into each of my 9 by 13 inch glass baking dishes. And just so you know, I sprayed these with a little bit of baking spray. I always do that whenever I use a Pyrex dish, just so nothing sticks. Once my full racks of ribs were cut in half, I just took a paper towel and patted them dry a little bit because there was a little bit of excess moisture from the inside of the packaging. So now I'm gonna take some pulp-free orange juice and pour about 1/2 to 3/4 of a cup all the way around the perimeter of each of my baking pans. And this will add some nice flavor and of course some moisture as the ribs are baking. And using citrus juice, the acidity inside will help tenderize the meat as it cooks. Now, the original recipe video that I watched for this, they also used a little bit of fresh lime juice and bourbon, so you can totally experiment with adding some other flavors too if you'd like. Today I'm just sticking with the orange juice, mostly because I forgot to buy limes, but it's still gonna be really good. Okay, so next I'm gonna show you how I made my homemade dry rub. So I already started making half of the rub and then I realized, oh, I'm doubling my recipe today, but it works out perfectly because I can show you step by step what I added into my dry rub. So first I'm starting with about 1 tablespoon of salt. And I am totally using the Rachel Ray measuring method today. So like a full palmful, it's about 1 tablespoon. And then several cracks of freshly cracked black pepper? Some black pepper. I turned that into more of a tongue twister than it needed to be. And then while we're talking about pepper too, I am serving this to my whole family, including the kids tonight, and some other, my friends' kids too. So I'm not gonna add cayenne pepper, but you could totally add a couple pinches of that too, just to add a little spiciness. If you don't wanna add any extra spiciness to the rub, you could add, you could serve this with a spicy barbecue sauce, so that would bump up the heat too later on, but not everybody would have to eat it. Okay, so next I'm gonna add a big scoop of brown sugar. So that's probably like a tablespoon, maybe 2 tablespoons. We'll add a little more actually, so probably about 2 tablespoons. Okay, and then about a teaspoon, so that's like a small little palmful of paprika. And then I'm gonna add probably 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. Okay, and then we'll mix this all together. And I'm just using a fork to help me break up the brown sugar and combine everything together. Okay, and then I'm just gonna sprinkle this all over the top of my ribs. Okay, so I'm just gonna massage the rub into the meat a little bit. And if you wanna make a little extra and season both sides, that's totally fine. Usually one side has a little bit of fat on it, so I feel like if you put it right onto the meat, it's really gonna penetrate the meat with that flavor. So that's why I just do it on the top. Okay, then we're gonna cover these with foil and get them in the oven. My oven is preheated to 250 degrees, and these baby back ribs are gonna roast low and slow for about 3 hours. My baby back ribs cooked for about 3 hours, and they are seriously falling apart. They are just fork tender. I cannot wait to give these a taste before my guests come in like the next 10 minutes. So good, super tender, nice and flavorful for my dry rub. And behind me on the stove, I have some of my favorite barbecue sauce heating up too. So if you want a little extra flavor or just a little bit more sauciness to your ribs, you can pour that over top when you're serving it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and follow me on Instagram at Anne's Family Recipe. Thank you so much for joining me today in my kitchen, and I'll see you again soon with another family recipe. For the full recipe, check the description box below, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for joining me in my kitchen.